They never told you this about women, not because it's complicated, but because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you stop being controllable. For hundreds of years, men were taught the wrong lesson. Be kind, be patient, be loyal, be emotionally available, and eventually, she will value you. But here's the truth no one says out loud. The men who follow that advice the most are often the ones who lose everything. Not because they are bad, but because they misunderstand how desire actually works. They tell men to be kind, to be patient, to be loyal, to be emotionally available, to prove that they are different from every other man. And all of that sounds noble, until a man realizes that being good does not always make him desired, being loyal does not always make him valued, and giving more does not always make a woman stay. That is where the illusion breaks. Machiavelli understood something people still hate admitting. Human beings do not respond only to virtue. They respond to value, fear, scarcity, leverage, perception, and self-interest. People may speak about love, loyalty, and morality, but underneath those beautiful words, the older laws of human nature are still moving. And those laws do not stop at romance. They enter every relationship you have ever cared about, especially with women. Here is the harsh truth. A woman may appreciate your kindness and still lose desire. She may enjoy your attention and still stop feeling pulled toward you. She may call you a good man and still choose distance over closeness. That is why so many men are confused. They think being appreciated should automatically lead to being desired, but appreciation is not attraction. Comfort is not desire, and being useful is not the same as being powerful. Most men do not lose power in one dramatic moment. They lose it quietly. They answer too quickly. They forgive too easily. They explain too much. They give more when they are receiving less. They laugh at disrespect because they do not want tension. They accept uncertainty because they are afraid of losing access. And every time they do this, they teach the woman something. They teach her that their presence has no price. They teach her that disrespect has no cost. They teach her that their emotional state depends on her approval. This is where desire begins to change. Not because women are evil, not because women are incapable of love, but because women, like all human beings, respond to the structure of a relationship. If you give someone full access to you without standards, that access becomes ordinary. If you reward distance with desperation, distance becomes powerful. If you reward disrespect with more effort, disrespect becomes safe. People repeat what works. That is human nature. Machiavelli would not be surprised by this. He knew that love based only on affection is fragile, because affection changes with mood, circumstance, and advantage. Respect, however, is built on consequences. A person may stop feeling warm toward you, but they will still respect a boundary if violating it costs them something. This is where many men fail. They try to be loved before they are respected. They try to be chosen before they are centered. They try to keep a woman before they keep themselves. At first, this looks romantic. A man gives his time, his energy, his attention, his emotional availability. He wants to prove that he cares. He wants to be safe. He wants to be different from the men who hurt her before. But slowly, his love starts to change shape. It becomes fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of disappointing her. Fear of conflict. Fear of silence. Fear of not being enough. And a woman can feel that fear. She may not say it directly. She may not even understand it consciously. But she feels when a man's kindness is no longer coming from strength. She feels when his patience is actually fear of abandonment. She feels when his loyalty is not choice, but dependency. That is the moment attraction becomes unstable, because desire does not want to carry a man's entire emotional survival. It wants to meet a man who has weight, a man with direction, a man with standards, a man who can care without collapsing, a man who can love without kneeling. The man who needs less has more power. This does not mean he loves less. It means he is not controlled by the fear of losing what he loves. That is the difference most men never learn. They think the strongest love is the love that sacrifices everything. But sometimes, sacrificing everything only proves that you have nothing solid inside yourself. And when a woman senses that, she may still care about you. She may still feel guilt. She may still respect your history. But desire begins to fade because the dynamic has changed. You are no longer the man with gravity. You are the man orbiting around her reaction. That is where the story begins. not with women being mysterious, but with men refusing to understand the connection between desire and power. A woman usually leaves emotionally before she leaves physically. This is the part men notice too late. At first, the signs are small. She replies slower. She stops asking deep questions. She still talks to you, but the warmth is thinner. She still says she is busy, but something in her tone feels different. She still smiles, but her eyes no longer reach for you the same way. The man feels it, but he does not understand it. So he does what most men do when they feel a woman slipping away. He tries harder. He sends longer messages. He explains his feelings. He asks if something is wrong. He becomes more available. He gives more attention. He tries to remind her how much he cares. But if the real problem is loss of desire, more effort from fear does not fix it. It confirms it. Because the issue was never that she did not know you cared. She knew. The issue was that your care started to feel less like strength and more like need. This is the mechanism men miss. Women do not respond only to what you do. They respond to what your actions signal. A message from a grounded man feels different from the same message sent by a desperate man. A compliment from a confident man feels different from the same compliment given by a man seeking approval. Vulnerability from a strong man feels different from emotional dumping by a man who wants to be rescued. The action may be the same. The perception is not, and desire follows perception. This is why two men can treat a woman kindly and receive completely different reactions. One man's kindness feels chosen. The other man's kindness feels like negotiation. One man gives because he has abundance. The other gives because he is afraid that if he stops giving, she will stop choosing him. Women can feel the bargain. They can feel the invisible invoice behind the kindness. I did everything for you. That sentence sounds wounded, but underneath it is another sentence. So why do you not desire me the way I want? And that is where love becomes pressure. A man thinks he is proving devotion, but psychologically, he is trying to purchase certainty. He wants his sacrifice to become a contract. He wants his loyalty to become insurance. He wants his patience to become proof that she should stay. But desire cannot be forced into debt. A woman may feel guilty for not wanting a good man, but guilt does not create attraction. Guilt may keep her around for a while. It may make her softer. It may make her explain less cruelly. But guilt cannot make her body, mind, and emotions move toward a man she no longer experiences as powerful. This is painful because most men were taught that morality should win. They were taught that if they are good, the outcome should be good. But human nature is not that clean. People do not always desire what is best for them. They desire what moves them, what challenges them, what creates curiosity, what carries emotional contrast, what feels valuable because it is not completely possessed. This is why over-availability kills tension. At the beginning, a man has his own life, his own rhythm, his own goals, his own silence, his own distance. The woman feels she is entering a world, not becoming responsible for holding one together. But later, many men start merging into the relationship. They drop their routines. They become constantly reachable. They shape their mood around her responses. They make her the center of their mental space. At first, she may enjoy the attention. Then she adapts to it. Then she expects it. Then she stops valuing it. That is the brutal progression. What once felt special becomes normal. What becomes normal becomes invisible. What becomes invisible stops creating desire. This does not mean a man should play games. Fake distance is still neediness if it is designed to create a reaction. Ignoring her to make her anxious is not power. It is dependence wearing a mask. Real distance comes from having a life that is not empty. A mission, friends, standards, private thoughts, a body you discipline, a future you are building. A man with real distance does not need to pretend to be unavailable. He is simply not available for everything, because his life has structure. That structure creates weight, and women feel weight. They feel when a man belongs to himself. They feel when he is not waiting outside the door of their attention. They feel when his love is an offer, not a plea. That is why the woman who once desired you may begin to pull away when you become too easy to emotionally manage. Not because she hates love, but because desire weakens when power disappears, and power disappears when a man trades himself for closeness. This is the part many men resist, because it removes the comfort of blame. It forces them to ask a harder question, not, Why did she change? But when did my position change? That question hurts, but it is also the beginning of control. Every relationship tests boundaries. Women test them, men test them, friends test them, families test them, colleagues test them. Human beings constantly search for the limits of what they can do without consequence. Most of the time, this is not planned cruelty. It is human nature moving toward advantage. If someone can take more while giving less, they often will. If someone can disrespect you and still keep full access to you, they learn that disrespect is affordable. If someone can create uncertainty and receive more attention, uncertainty becomes useful. People repeat what works. That is why boundaries are not about what you say. They are about what happens after someone crosses them. A man can say, "I will not tolerate disrespect," but if he stays, begs, explains, and rewards her with more attention after she disrespects him, then his words mean nothing. He has not created a boundary, he has created a performance. And women can feel the difference. A boundary without consequence is only a request. A request can be ignored. A consequence changes behavior. This is where many men misunderstand love. They think being loving means being endlessly patient. They think being mature means absorbing everything calmly. They think being strong means not reacting. But sometimes what they call maturity is fear. Sometimes what they call patience is self-abandonment. Sometimes what they call calmness is the silence of a man who does not want to risk losing access. And that silence has a price. Because when you do not correct disrespect early, you train the relationship to accept it. At first it is a small joke, then a dismissive tone, then delayed replies with no explanation, then emotional inconsistency, then making you feel guilty for asking for basic respect, then treating your presence like something guaranteed. The man feels the pattern, but he keeps telling himself not to overreact. Then one day, he realizes he has been living inside a dynamic he helped create. This is the point where Machiavelli becomes brutal. He would not ask, "Why did they do this to you?" He would ask, "Why was it profitable?" That question changes everything. If disrespect gave her more control, and you gave no consequence, why would the behavior disappear? If distance made you chase, why would distance stop? If emotional confusion kept you invested, why would clarity arrive? This is not about blaming women. It is about understanding incentives. A woman may not consciously think, "I will test him," but she will still feel whether you have structure. She will feel whether you are afraid of her disapproval. She will feel whether your standards are real or decorative. And if your standards collapse when affection is at risk, then your standards were never ruling you. Your fear was. This is why the man who can calmly step back becomes more powerful than the man who gives emotional speeches. A speech asks to be understood. A boundary shows reality. I am not available for this. I will not keep explaining my value. If you are unsure about me, I will not audition for certainty. These sentences are powerful because they do not beg, they do not threaten, they do not try to control her. They simply return the man to himself. That is what many men forget. A boundary is not designed to control a woman. It is designed to protect your own position. If she respects you, she may not like the boundary, but she will understand it. If she only benefited from your weakness, she will call your self-respect cold, selfish, or harsh. That reaction is information. The wrong woman will punish you for becoming harder to exploit. The right woman may challenge you, but she will not require you to abandon yourself to be loved. This is where desire and respect meet. A woman can enjoy attention from a man she does not respect. She can use his comfort. She can keep him close. She can call him sweet. She can even say she cares about him. But without respect, desire loses force. He becomes useful, not magnetic. Present, not powerful. Needed, not wanted. And that is one of the most painful positions a man can occupy. To be kept around, but not chosen deeply. To be appreciated, but not desired. To be called good, but not felt as strong. This is why a man must stop confusing access with value. Just because she answers does not mean she desires. Just because she stays does not mean she respects. Just because she accepts what you give does not mean she sees you as powerful. Sometimes she stays because the exchange benefits her. That was one of the strongest truths in the older Machiavellian frame. Relationships are exchanges, even when people hate admitting it. Emotional exchange, practical exchange, social exchange, psychological exchange. A woman may stay because you provide comfort, attention, stability, validation, safety. But if the exchange lacks desire and respect, the relationship slowly becomes unbalanced. And when exchange becomes unbalanced, resentment grows. The man resents not being desired for what he gives. The woman resents feeling pressured to desire what she only appreciates. Both feel misunderstood, but the truth was there from the beginning. The relationship was not being held by power. It was being held by usefulness, and usefulness alone cannot carry desire forever. The final truth is not that women are cruel. It is not that love is fake. It is not that men should become cold, suspicious, or manipulative. Those are shallow conclusions. The deeper truth is that women, desire, and power cannot be separated. A woman may love your heart, but she still feels your position. She may hear your words, but she still responds to your presence. She may appreciate your kindness, but she still notices whether your kindness has a spine. That is the harsh truth. Desire does not reward the man who abandons himself. It responds to the man who can remain whole while feeling desire. This is what separates a powerful man from a desperate one. The desperate man makes the woman his emotional center. Her reply becomes his peace. Her warmth becomes his confidence. Her distance becomes his punishment. Her approval becomes the mirror that tells him he is enough. That is not love. That is dependency decorated as romance. And decoration is often what destroys men first. They decorate fear and call it devotion. They decorate weakness and call it patience. They decorate anxiety and call it depth. They decorate self-abandonment and call it sacrifice. But desire sees through decoration. A woman may not know the words, but she feels the structure. She feels whether the man is standing on something. She feels whether his life has weight outside her. She feels whether his attention is chosen or begged. She feels whether his absence would mean something. That is why power begins with the ability to walk away. Not because walking away is always the answer, but because a man who cannot walk away cannot stand upright in the relationship. He can talk about standards. He can demand respect. He can explain his feelings. But underneath everything, the truth is visible. He is not free, and what is not free can be controlled. The powerful man does not hate women. He understands human nature without becoming bitter. He knows that attraction can shift. He knows that loyalty has conditions. He knows that love can exist and still be influenced by perception, distance, and power. So he does not build his life on fantasy. He builds it on self-command. He does not ask, "How do I make her stay?" He asks, "Am I becoming a man worth staying for?" He does not ask, "How do I stop her from leaving?" He asks, "Why would I fear losing her more than losing myself?" He does not ask, "How do I control women?" He asks, "What part of me becomes controllable when I desire one?" That question is where real power begins, because the danger is not women. The danger is what desire exposes in men. It exposes insecurity. It exposes emptiness. It exposes the hunger to be chosen. It exposes the boy inside the man who still wants someone else to prove that he is enough. Women do not always create that wound. Often, they reveal it. And when a man understands this, he stops making women the enemy. He also stops making them the throne. He sees them clearly, human, responsive, emotional, strategic in ways they may not admit, sensitive to power in ways romantic language tries to hide. That clarity does not make him cruel. It makes him harder to manipulate. He can love without worshipping. He can give without becoming empty. He can be vulnerable without becoming helpless. He can desire without kneeling before desire. He can stay warm without becoming weak. That is the balance most men never reach. They either become too soft and lose themselves, or they become cold and call it strength. But coldness is often just wounded dependence wearing armor. A truly powerful man does not need to act indifferent. He has built a life strong enough that he is not destroyed by uncertainty. His purpose gives him distance. His standards give him shape. His boundaries give him respect. His self-command gives him power. And because of that, his love has weight. His attention has value. His absence has meaning. This is what Machiavelli would force a man to see. People do not treat you according to how much you feel. They treat you according to how you are positioned. If loving someone makes you abandon your position, your love becomes the doorway through which your power leaves. So the final question is not, why did she change? It is, what did I give away before she changed? That question is painful because it gives responsibility back to the man. But it also gives him freedom, because if he gave power away, he can stop giving it away. If he abandoned himself, he can return. If he mistook anxiety for love, he can finally see the difference. A woman is not the source of your power. She is the test of whether you have it. If her attention makes you forget yourself, you are not centered. If her distance destroys you, you are not grounded. If her approval becomes your identity, you are not free. That is the real harsh truth about women, desire, and power. It was never only about women. It was about the man you become when you want one. And once you understand that, you stop begging to be chosen. You choose yourself first, not loudly, not bitterly, not as revenge, but as reality, because the man who belongs to himself cannot be owned by desire. And the woman is not the throne. She is the test.